Hey guys, welcome back. I am fresh off the Dallas show setup, and I figured it'd be a good time to talk about both what I was working on there, Levant mostly, and also because we are heading into Vegas and I will be changing hats and turning into a buyer. I thought I'd talk a little bit about how I'm going to make some changes with what's going on. It's it's one, I'm just going to say, I'm for you listening, I'm going to probably be all over the board today. um, it is a, it feels very weird in the industry right now. I think partly because the show dates were shuffled around. I think partly for me, I have not ever spent that much time in Dallas. Like usually it's a come and go. I do one space and I go. That's usually Coco and Carmen. And honestly, that was last season was my first real season doing Dallas, which I loved working. I love working in that building. I love that show, period. It's just a great atmosphere. Dallas does a really good job with events, with educational things that they're throwing, fashion shows. It has a lot of energy. And one thing I say a lot, that Fred Siegel taught me was energy creates energy. And there it is proof in the pudding on when you see these shows put together and how much energy Dallas has around it. So it was really great to be there. But it was a lot. I mean, it was four setups I had, which that was for only being the second time I've had a setup in Dallas. That was very different. And now I'm home. I actually have, I think, 20 days at home before I go to Vegas. And I will say this is super weird, is that this is the first time, again, because the shows are kind of shuffled around, this is the first time where I'm going to be home and I'm not working on the next project. So Lucy's is in a good space. We are going to be doing the show together. It's a slow season right now in Arizona because of the heat. They're still doing business. I'm still up. Thank you very much. But it's kind of ramping down. I don't have as much to do for them right now. I finished and wrapped up my project for the Brit. I'll talk a little bit about that today as well. And I have one more project here that is just re-merchandising a store. So it's not a lot. So I will actually have a chance to just take it all in from where I live. We have been working on our little back patio. So I'm super excited, to be quite honest, just to sit in my backyard and read. That's really all I want to do. And also kind of go out and actually go paddle boarding in some of the lakes because we've only been here 2.5 years. And of those 2.5 years, I've only been here at the house maybe, I think if I'm really honest, probably 14 months out of 24 months. So we haven't gone paddleboarding at all this yet. Last time I think we went paddleboarding, Dave and I, was before the pandemic in Huntington Beach, and we used to go like every weekend. So I really want to do that. The difference is the water is so effing cold here. Like that's what that I think is the reason why I haven't gone. But to do that, to go hike, to just hang out with the dogs, as you hear them barking right now. Um, just to go be off, I guess, and just take in what Oregon has to offer, which I'm super excited. The Brit, I'll give you guys a little information on that. Brit is a outdoor venue that's, the way I can explain it is it feels like the Greek in Anaheim. It's an outdoor musical, or just an outdoor amphitheater that is so magical. It's built into the mountains. It is gorgeous. It's, there's a huge expansive lawn space, and then there is seating. I think like 20 or 30 rows of seating. That may even be more than they have, but people can buy tickets for the seating where you're closer, or you can go do a picnic. I personally love the picnic idea. We are going to be going this weekend to, they have the orchestra is always the orchestra events is always how they start off the season. And they are everything from, Beethoven to Star Wars. And we are going to go to Star Wars. So they're playing the movie and the orchestra is going to be playing the music to Star Wars, which I am so excited. Even as I'm saying this, I'm getting chills. I'm super excited. So this is stuff that we've never done when we're here. So I am lucky enough, or have the opportunity, and I was lucky enough to curate the Brits 2026 offerings for their merch shop, which is a totally different function. I'm still a buyer, but it's very different creating products, branded products for a venue or an event venue. And it was so much fun to create and really made me have to step outside of my comfort zone. Like I'm very comfortable going to the gift show and curating as I walk. It's very different curating for an event space. And really, the idea is like, if you're going to this event space, you're not only buying products to, or possibly to bring home to, because there's a lot of people coming to town for this, products to bring back to your family, or, the dog sitter, or your babysitter, or whatever, just inexpensive gifts. And there are some pricier pieces that they had already had. But my thought is just an instant gratification. I want this gift. Also, ideally, it's something that you can use while you're there. So we did rolled blankets that the flap closure had the embroidery of the Brit. I brought in a stuffed animal. I first pitched them a Bigfoot plush, and that got the thumbs down. I was really surprised. I thought maybe it was low lying fruit. I don't know. I thought that this stuffed Bigfoot would be perfect we're in the PNW. It's like, that's this, everywhere you look, there's a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot everywhere. And I thought for sure it was a home run. It was not. So we went with a river otter. Totally not what I thought we were going to go with, but the river otter is from a stuffed company that we found at ASD. And it has a little sweatshirt that's embroidered. It's so cute. It came in at a price point that was really easy. And the fact that it was an embroidered sweatshirt versus a screened meant a lot as well. I think it just gave it more value. And there are a lot of kids events, there are a lot of people that have kids that bring them, that don't come to the show with mom and dad. There's a lot of grandparents. So that was a brand new addition, which was really fun to create. I did a small cheese board, and it's small enough where if you're packing a bag, it's not like, taking out this giant cutting board. It's a tiny cheese board with a little spreadable knife. We did what else did I do? We did water bottles because they already had the thermal Stanley style and a stemless water bottle, but they sell alcohol. They in most of these open air venues do not sell anything glass because of the risk issue of broken glass and whatnot. So they have wine and beer, and you can buy your plastic bottle, and then you can walk it over to the beer and wine truck, and you could fill it up and get a bottle of wine. We did, what else did I do? Why am I forgetting these things? The stuffed animal, anyway, but that was a really fun. And what I really wanted, and I'm going to actually bring Sarah on, is Sarah Stein. If you remember, for those of you who have been in the industry for a while, and especially for California or the West Coast, is Sarah Stein had a line called So LA, and they did fantastic whiskey glasses that had zip codes on them. And like MoMA sold them, Philharmonic, or the Hollywood Bowl sold them. It's just phenomenal, like very modern, very design driven products. And Sarah had closed that entity, and she started another company called Swag Hags. I think it's called Swag to Riches now. And it's only products to name brand or to drop names on, or to create your own brands. And I want to have her on because this is the thing, and what I'm working with her more and more on. And it's funny how my buying and how I'm kind of transitioning from buying, our usual gifts and really embracing creating our own branded products. I'm actually working on Lucy's right now, is because I think about when you look at small, like Target does an end cap, and it's branded product for something. And as the end cap, you're looking at it, it's very tight. It's not 10,000 different items. It's not 10,000 different fonts and colors. And it's very tight in the sense of it's 3 colors or 2 colors. The color thread goes through the product. You can clearly see. So for instance, Lucy's branding is orange, black. There's pops of yellow, there's pops of turquoise, and there's pops of orange. orange is the main color. And I am doing, I have some stuff here. I am creating Lucy's branded product with Sarah because they have a ton of tourism. I talked about this before. Spring in the desert, the amount of events that go on is insane. So they've got Western Waste Management, huge golf tournament. They have the spring training, huge amount of people coming for that. They have the car show for Barrett Jackson. They have all the snowbirds that come in. It is the kind of volume these stores or stores in these areas see is close to Christmas numbers. And then as it gets more in summer and hotter, it starts to fall off. So I started doing Arizona product, and watching the sales of regional Arizona product has been insane. It's been so much fun to create these little shops, and it's really incredible to see how much numbers we are doing. And then I started thinking, like, why? Because Lucy's has a great logo, and Lucy's has great marketing, and it's some of the cutest packaging. I mean, as far as packaging as a brand I've seen, and their graphic guy is amazing, and they've done such a good job. So I really wanted to create our own product. And while doing the Brits project, it really gave me a good idea of like how to create a tight handful of products that will create a very tight little, basically pop-up shop. So Lucy's colors being what they are, I'm going to do 3 different trucker hats, and they are orange. I'm taking them out so those who are watching YouTube, you can see it, but orange, yellow, and turquoise. And then we're going to do bags with a pop of orange. This one has the pop of orange on the inside, pop of orange. We're going to do mugs. We're going to do water bottles. We're going to do koozies, and the koozies will have a little pocket on front, and we're going to double up and show those as gift card holders. But it's the idea of creating something like this opens up a whole other window for stores, I feel like, with a whole nother avenue of generating income and profit. And if you are doing the buying, some of it is coming out of China, and most of it's coming domestically. There are challenges with both. Domestic people are buying all their sample pieces in China. They took on X amount of inventory, and they're not bringing much more in until the tariff situation kind of balances out. You don't hear about tariffs that much anymore, but it's still an issue. But most manufacturers have taken in a lot of inventory when they heard that this is going to be the percentage that's going to be increased. So they have taken this in. So you'll see things that come up in this website. It's like, oh, let's curate this group, and Sarah will send it out to production, and they'll come back like, these 2 colors are in, this color is not in. And it's because they're selling what they own, and they're not bringing anything else in. The challenge with going to China directly is you're going to China directly. It's a series of emails and WhatsApp conversations. It is going through proofs and whatnot, and you're dealing with the time zone. So, you have a question, you don't get an answer for 2 days later. The samples you're seeing, you're approving via, WhatsApp or email. And, PS, if it all gets here and something's wrong, honestly, I don't really see, it's kind of like you order things from China on TikTok, and, realize they're from China. You get them in, you try it on, it doesn't fit, you go to return it, and the return fee is astronomical because you're sending it back to China. Picture ordering thousands of things, and I don't really see how you're going to be returning something. So it's half a dozen, whatever the hell that saying is, but it has been so much fun to create, and the profit margin that's built in is fantastic. And if you think about it, to have your own small pop-up shop, and Sarah is amazing. She's actually a graphic designer. So you could go to her, and like I said, I'm going to plan on having her on the podcast so she can explain in depth of how this works. But you can come up with your own, like, this is the Notting Hill bag that everyone's carrying in London. You could come up with your own saying. This is, the, prize bag, San Diego, whatever it is. But it's really, for me, it's exciting to create something that's totally different that other stores can't carry, that is only yours. And at the end of the day, it's a marketing piece. So if somebody brings it to a birthday or you're wearing it or whatever, it's another piece of marketing, which I think is fantastic. So that's that project. But with the shows coming up, and this is where I said I'm going to be all over the board. I have been doing my own internal analyzation on how I'm going to handle the shows now that Lucy's is 3 locations and I've been with them a year. We are up double digits. God damn. And I'm so incredibly proud of that. And yes, I'm comparing them to last year, and I'm comparing them to a situation that, they didn't have a seasoned buyer on. But for me, it's fantastic to see what the stores have the ability to do. And I know in the back of my head how much more we can do. So it's been really fantastic to honestly see the numbers every week, because I preach the reports and I go by the reports like myself, and they are the Bible. But to see what's selling, what's not, what we're sitting on, and then getting into the stores and seeing what we have. One thing that I really am going to be kind of dialing back is the assortments and how much of an assortment we have, because when you're buying things, when we're at the shows and we're ordering things, I'm curating and I'm concepting as I'm going. You'll see, like, for instance, the Lady Jane, the super cute Sherry's note papers and the pads that they have in the bags, and then their other division, Molly and Rex, that had the cute cheese pads and whatnot that I was showing on Instagram that I think were so phenomenal. You start adding all these things in the mix, and they all get to the store. Some of them all get to the store same time. Some of them I like to feed things in, so there's always something new coming in. But at the end of the day, getting to the store and seeing how much of an assortment we have, there has been times where I am way too over assorted. So that's one of the things, because yes, I want the customers to see all this cute stuff. And there's 2 ways I can do this. Either I stretch out my delivery windows, and I have the first group of, say, tomato stuff coming in from, this brand. And then I have a couple months later, I have a second wave of tomato stuff coming in. I'm not going to be reordering that first group of tomatoes, because that came in and that went. And I don't like to do a lot of reordering. I really do like the idea of sprinkling in newness, and also really letting people know that this is something, if you don't get it now, you're not going to see it again. It's not going to be coming back. I do have bread and butters that are constant reorders, which are like the Voluspas and, certain items. But honestly, even those tried and true brands are not selling the way they used to. And I'm becoming more and more hesitant of just continuing to reorder. And I know it's very different for some of you guys. Some of you guys, these are bread and butter lines, and you have a constant reorder of coming in of them. For me, it's not really happening that way. I really do want to sprinkle in newness all the time. And I really do want it to have somewhat of a scarcity feeling that, if you love this, you need to buy it now, because it's not coming back. And I'd hate for you to miss out, especially if you love it this much. And I mean, let's be honest, I'm dealing with price points that are like $20 to $40. So, but I do want to have that scarcity mindset in some sense of, if I don't buy it now, I'm not going to get it. This is why Zara is so incredibly successful, is that Zara, and I don't know how many of you knew this, Zara only has these products come in and they are literally a one-shot deal. It is, and for those who shop it, everyone knows, like, when these things are released, if you don't buy it when you see it, you are not going to get it. Like, guaranteed, it's not going to be on the website. It certainly is not going to be in the store, but they have built their whole business on the scarcity mindset, and it does phenomenal. And that also keeps a constant fresh new inventory coming in constantly. And for the things that aren't selling that fast, you just can't continue to reinvent them. And if you are doing a cherry story or a tomato story or whatnot, just keep feeding in bits and pieces of these items to elongate this concept that you're having, and it will continue to kind of go on. It just will kind of morph and change as it's going on. But at the end of the day, you still have a tomato theme or a concept, and it's different items. And that way your customers are constantly checking in also of what new, cherries or bananas or whatever the item, butter, especially butter right now, this is huge. But when I get to the stores and I start working with the product, I really have seen where I am oversorted, and it's hard not to do, as we all know, as you're in the show, because you have reps that you love, you have lines that you love, and the shows that are showing obviously what's on trend. So now this show, because based on how well the butter thing and those damn squishy things have gone, guaranteed by the time we get to the show, you're going to see butter and the squishy things like 8 ways from Sunday. It's going to be everywhere. And I think what happens is, at least for me, I get there, we love it, and then we go to another one, we love that one as well, and we write it as well, and then you get it somewhere else and you love that too, and you want to write that too, and then you start adding in other things that you sell, that you sell, that you're doing numbers behind, wax or stationery, whatever it is, and you continue to order. And by the time it all comes to the store, unless you have a massive store and unless you really curate your buys tightly, it will look like a garage sale. And that is, I will admit it, that is what happened in the early spring with Lucy's. It was like, whoa, we have a lot of this. We did the cowboy thing, and then the cowgirl thing, this bridal cowgirl is what I went for the spring for there, because I don't know how many people knew this, but apparently Phoenix is the number 2 place to have a bridal shower. It's in the Southwest. So we did a cowboy bridal shower thing, and it sold so fast that then it became, I'm trying to catch up with the sales and continuing to find new things that are cowboy or cowgirl related. And as time went on, it slowed down like things do. And I got there to the store and it was like, we had so much cowgirl stuff and it was all selling. It was just, all of it had sold and all of it was broken meaning broken inventory. There's only 2 left or 1 left or, whatnot. And all of that together was a garage sale. So this time going into the show, I am keeping my mind open for what concepts we're doing, because I want to do totally different things. So right now I've stopped all my reorders, anything that we, possibly wanted to bring back in, or going and looking for new vegetable items or what have you. I've kind of stopped on all that because I really want to sell out what we have or sell through what we have. Because the other thing too is we get all excited, we order all this stuff, and it comes to the store and we have not sold enough off the floor and we're jamming it in the store again. This time I'm really changing how I'm doing it. And I'm saying this like with a question mark above my head. While I do not believe it's going to hurt the business, I do want to see how much, continuing mixing it up and merchandising it, how much we could sell it down without making it look empty, but having enough room and enough emptiness that we have enough room to interject these items, toss the salad, as I say, and make it look all new. And if I don't sell through and I continue to keep bringing things in and bringing things in and bringing things in order to keep up with the business, I'm going to be in that situation where we're going to have a relatively full store and we have all this new stuff coming in. So I'm approaching this a little bit differently, because we will have a sale, but not all this will go on sale. But that's kind of how I'm switching it up this time. And what it's going to mean is that I have to go back to what I said a long time ago on the podcast, is that walking the show for the first day and only walking it and not writing one order, walking it and seeing what stands out, what trends I love, who has the same trend, say butter, how many 8 ways, how many ways are we looking at it? What are my favorite ways that I'm seeing it? What are the best price point options for this because, as I said in previous shows, is that I used to walk the show. I'd hit the show the first day. I'd start writing things. I'd find something I love. And then, 5 showrooms later, I see it again. Remember, most of the lines that we buy these lines are buying them from the China gift show. And most of these lines are all sourcing their products from basically the same manufacturer, if not manufacturers that are all manufacturing very alike items. So it's going to come in different price points. And if I go and look at everything first with fresh eyes and run a list and take pictures of the things I love and not do the knee-jerk reaction of like, I want this and order it right away, that gives me a better big picture of what we're going to be doing. And then the next day, second day, I can go in and start writing because I have a solid plan. I know what I love. I know what ways I've seen it. The only thing is I won't have temporaries to see until, a couple days later. But at least for all of the showrooms that we write from, I really want to get a bird's eye view of what everyone's doing and what the trends are. So I have a plan. And so I'm not ordering at random. I love this. I love this. I love this. And I will have to, in my own sense, really kind of take a step back in how many of these items do we have? Am I over assorted? Do I have too many? And if I do, then I need to start canceling because that's what happened those shows in the past is that I would see something and I would love it. I'd write it. I'd see it somewhere else. Then I would be like, oh, I need to cancel the other order and, place this order. And often the items that I was not going to keep and I needed to cancel, I didn't cancel early enough and they had shipped them already. It is a hamster wheel of us looking at products. And like, if I can keep up ahead of the hamster wheel and I'm not ordering from the moment I walk in and I'm doing it a little bit more smartly. Is that even a word, smartly? If I'm being smart about how I'm buying and more calculated, because I look at when I say over assorted, when you look at stores like Patina and you look at Drew's and you look at Annie Blue Ribbon and you look at Occasionette, they have a lot of items, but they're well curated and it's not 10,000 versions of something. Because I know I've merchandised stores where there's a trend on something and they order every single item that happens to be, say, a cactus. And it's everything from lip balms to socks to this to that. And it all ends up in one place. And while it's great assortment, it is definitely over assorted. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this season. I'm also really going to be dialing down my delivery windows. I have always preached a start date, a cancel date, and I've always preached like really spreading the wealth out, really kind of separating out when I want things to come in, because I think a lot of us go to the shows and everything comes in ASAP, and I don't know how you bring in everything ASAP when and where is it all going to go and what's coming behind it. And I really am dialing down on my start dates and my cancel dates. If you don't use delivery dates, I highly suggest it. There are a lot of people that still go into the show and everything is written ASAP, and the reps, to be honest, are used to it. So often they won't ask you what the delivery date is. They automatically just put ASAP. And I've like years ago, I worked for a store called Sweet Surrender in Bakersfield. Amazing store. She's an incredible merchant, but she would go to the shows and everything was ASAP. And that would be everything from seasons coming up, like say Valentine's is coming up, Easter, summer, fall. She would take it all ASAP. Like if we were looking at fall and we were in January, she would take it. She had the funds to do this. And she also had a separate warehouse offsite so she could store it. But honestly, that is sitting money. And I would have a really hard time because I would want to put some stuff out just because to me, it is sitting dollars. And you could, instead of having $30,000 sitting in your warehouse, you could be utilizing that money to products that are going to turn faster versus you're not even going to see the return on that until months later. So I really preach delivery windows. So I will be going in we'll be looking at fourth quarter. So I will be looking at some ASAP. We'll be looking at fall, Halloween. We'll be looking at holiday. And then I'll be looking at every day, like anything from kids that's non-holiday to kitchen, tabletop, etc. But I really want to be smart about how I spread out the funds that are going out the window for all these deliveries, as well as, again, always having that newness coming into the store. So your customers are always seeing something new and something, when you're turning and you're redoing your displays and you're adding in this newness, and the newness is what's front and focal, that makes the whole display look brand new and you're still staying within your theme. I just really, really want to make sure I am going by that this time, because we did do a lot of ASAP last time. And it was a lot of inventory to hit the store, and it worked out. It looked great. Like the sales were phenomenal, but it definitely, as time went on, there wasn't as much newness interjected. So that's one of the things. And this is one of the things with what I do is I really try and analyze what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I really try and be as honest and upfront with myself of what worked and what didn't work. So the over assortment thing is one, and as well as like really dialing in my delivery windows and really looking at how much money I spent and when, because we come back from the shows and I add up all my deliveries. I add up every single PO, I add up every single delivery window. So I have an idea that my ASAPs were this amount. My next delivery window is say 8/1, 8/30. It's a 30-day window with a cancellation date. You always want to put cancellation dates on them if you don't, but 8/30. And then my next window would be 9/15, just in case some stuff came in closer to the 8/30 mark, 9/15 to 10/15, etc. And I just really want to make sure I spread that out, because that first delivery after show is such a big hit of inventory that if I don't add it all up and I don't have an understanding of exactly how much I spent for each store, it is shocking when you start seeing the invoices coming through. So that's kind of how I'm addressing this. I just thought I would tell you how this. So let's talk about Levant. I have not written Levant. I've seen it. It's a beautiful line. For my stores, it doesn't make the most sense for us because it's beautiful, higher end laundry, soap, dryer balls, essential oils for the dryer balls, hand soap, hand cream, and dish soap, and then all the little great accoutrements like little dish scrubbies and whatnot. It is a gorgeously curated line, and I kept referring to it that it feels like Skims because the bottles are all like these beautiful fleshy colors. It's a stunning line, and I was introduced to them early spring and had the opportunity to reimagine the Dallas showroom. They were moving from one space in Ivy Stone into a bigger space. And this gave them an opportunity to change how it looked. And I think Atlanta and Stephen Young has it in Vegas, but I think Atlanta has their original iteration of the showroom, which is white cabinetry. The walls were like a pinky color that emulated tried as close to the pinky color as their product. And I don't know, the white to me just didn't feel, it felt very bright. Like I said, the bottles and everything are like these beautiful fleshy earth tones and just gorgeous tones. And the white just felt very stark. And so when I work with a client, whether it's retailer or wholesaler, I will first ask for inspiration because I want to see where your head's at. I want to see what is your envision of, and most stores and most wholesale lines have a vision of what they want it to look like, especially if that's not where it's at right now, or they tried something and they have themselves looked at what the line looks like and it doesn't feel like them anymore and they want to change. And Levant had some gorgeous images that were, it's more, a little bit darker, a little bit more moody. It was not bright white. There was not one white piece in it anymore. So I took that and then I start going through Pinterest. I start going through magazines, and I really start kind of dialing in what we can do. The next question I ask is, what is the budget? Because that obviously is going to dictate what we're able to do. And they had a pretty good sized budget. So I was proposing the arches that we've done several times. And I had said this, but they really, some of their inspirations had these built outs of these beautiful, fully built out arched bookcases. And I knew already that kind of construction is going to be much more than their budget anticipated. And I tried to say this, and they really wanted to see it. So you as a designer have to go through, the process. So I had 2 bids put together. It was not Dave, because in Dallas, you have to be licensed. I believe you have to be licensed in the state that the showroom's in. We have found out that it does not have to be licensed in that state. You just have to be licensed, and you need a COI certificate, which is an insurance policy paperwork. So I had two bids, and both of them were for the build out that included electrical, that included paint, that included the shelving, because the shelving I wanted to be lumber, and the rest of the build out to be basically it would be built out with a drywall with a mud over it, with a textured mud, and then the shelving would be like hardwood. And like I had a feeling it was going to be way more than the budget. So the other option was what I was thinking were these arches where that's the thing with design. It's like, you can have an image, you can have something that you love, and it could be very, very expensive, but there's always another thing you can do that will create this feeling or this look that you love, but it has a different price point. It always doesn't have to be the most expensive way. And yes, if there was no budget, yes, absolutely. Let's do the built out. But most times everyone has budgets, and keep in mind, the shows are 2 times a year. This kind of construction is not something that's going to change in and out every season. This is their new look. So this is not something that's going to be changing. But most of the showrooms, these are expenses they have to see every single show. And honestly, it's like most of these showrooms, the display changes out every season. This for them, this is their whole new look. So this is more of like, this is how the whole entire space is going to look. And what will change will be the tabletops. But for the most part, this is how it's going to look. So we created a look that felt like their inspirations, which is these arches. And we've done the arches before for other brands, but I really wanted it to feel different than it has been, and take it as another step forward. So that taking the next step forward for this was having it backlit, which, oh my God, you guys, I want to backlit everything. Seriously, like the walls. So the walls are like a taupey color that does not lean towards that green taupey. It's more of like a pinky taupey, if that makes any sense. And then the arches are in cream, and they're backlit, and then they have these beautiful wood shelves that are like 2 inches thick, because I really wanted that weight to it. I really wanted it to feel heavy, because the inspiration with these bookcases where they were very kind of heavy feeling, and to kind of create that, you couldn't do thin shelving. It really needed to have some weight to it. But the backlighting, oh my God, everything I want to do now is a backlit thing. I mean, honestly, and it's so easy. So they are lifted off the wall by pieces of 2x4. And the 2x4 is in place basically for structure for where the shelves are going to go on the wall. So it does 2 things. It holds it off the wall for structure, and then it holds the shelving for weight, and for the other portion of the structure being the shelves on the exterior. And having them off the wall, and it's rope lighting, just simple LED rope lighting. Oh my God. The effect that this had was so stunning. And the rest of the room, we recycled their table. We brought in 2 other additional tables, and then there was an L-shaped wall that kind of floated out in the space, because when you walk into it, the space is very long, and you basically are walking into the space, and the back wall is the arches and a table floating. So as you're walking in, I wanted an entry statement where you know you're walking into that space, and you can see as you're looking forward, you can see the arches in the wall. So you knew it was some part of that. It was the same part of the same company. And that L wall, though, we weren't going to put arches on because of the cost, but I really wanted to tie it in a design way. So there is something called acoustic paneling. And I know you guys know what it looks like, and I know you've seen it, but I don't know if you know like what it actually is. So it's that little slatted wood. Aesop, the brand Aesop, their stores use it a lot, and they have different finishes of wood, and then it's a 2x or a 1x piece of wood, and then there's black felt, and then there's the 1x. So it's whatever color wood, and then black basically is what what it looks like. And when it's on a whole wall, it is so beautiful, and it totally changes what the room or what a space looks like. You also can cover, we do a lot of risers, big block risers. I've also seen people wrap the risers in it. It looks amazing like that. But it's just a great design way to change something, and it's so inexpensive. You buy them in panels. I think we got them from Wayfair, but if you type in acoustic paneling, you will be blown away how much comes in. I had done a Zoom consultation for a retailer, and she had this one whole wall, and she does so much business. She works with an open to buy person, and the open to buy people are telling you need to get in more inventory, and you have to figure out how to get more inventory in. And for her, she had this whole back wall, and she had little glass shelves on it, and that's where she had her jewelry and some candles, but it was such a waste of real estate. So I told her, because her inspiration was the Free People showroom, I think I don't know if it was their booth at Magic or their showroom in LA, but they have a wall that looks like the acoustic paneling, that's strips of wood. And I had said, let's cover the wall in acoustic paneling. And because there is however wide the space is, we can put standards in between the wood, because there's that much space, and standards are very thin. And then you could put brackets and glass shelves or wood shelves on top of that. I chose glass shelves on top of it because I didn't want to have another wood. But for you in a store, if you have a wall and you don't know what to do with it, and you want to kind of give it some kind of design aspect of it, using these acoustic panels and putting them up, and then putting in standards in between these slats, and then you can just put in brackets and hang the glass on it. It is amazing what a difference it makes. For us, we did not have the standards. I attached the brackets directly onto the acoustic paneling. The brackets themselves were too wide to do it in between, but it came out beautiful, and it still had a design effect. Like I said, if you Google acoustic paneling, a lot will come up. But I think we got ours at Wayfair, and they were not expensive. I think they were 108 inches tall. So if you have a tall wall, it's very easy. It's not like you're piecemealing pieces. They actually were taller than the wall, so it was just a quick cut at the top. And I think it was 4 boxes is what we used. And in each box, I think 3 came in it. So it really was cost effective. It was design savvy, and it really tied in the whole room and this floating L wall that was out in the middle of the space. So when you walk in, you have the L wall that is covered in acoustic paneling. One of the walls, I only did half paneling and half the taupey color, and that's how I tied in the back wall. And then we did glass brackets gold brackets and glass shelves. Because again, I didn't want to use big, heavy wood shelves like we did on the arches in the same space. But when you stand back and look at it, the whole space read as one. And you could really, like I said, this opening statement, walking into the space and then looking beyond this opening statement, you could see the arches. It read as one space. And the idea is that it didn't feel disjointed or whatever you call it. It didn't feel like it was two different spaces. It read as one space. And that's always the goal, especially when you're dealing with a space that's so big, and it was very narrow. So you couldn't spread things out. It was really like, it was almost like a long hall and then the back area. But so when the design part of it for me, once I get their inspiration, then I start going through ideas and start looking at what can we create for this budget. And then really it becomes, a lot of it has to do with the props. Your paint colors and your props have everything to do with the whole entire scope of what something looks like. And the props really pull it in together. And that for me at the tops, like where I talked about before, Anthropologie we've always like the very top of shelving units has always been called the upper. It's too high to have product. It's usually your pretty. It's the display that kind of ties in what's happening below it. So we did, big pots and big basketing and just more architectural elements that all felt like the product. And it was so beautiful. I am so incredibly proud of this project, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's Dallas is the only one that has this right now. My hope is that we roll this out in Atlanta at the Ivy Stone as well there. Stephen Young will stay with Stephen Young's style display. This won't be rolled out at, usually displays for Stephen stay within the Stephen Young style. So it's not like everybody has their own feeling. But certainly I hope we roll it out in Atlanta. So if you go, let me know what you think. But the process itself from inspiration to installment, I'm going to try and do a voiceover video so you can see, but it's, between sketches and inspiration, then it goes to sketches, then it comes into installation. And, what I will say that I think was the most challenging and why I think I'm sick is the stress of managing a construction site from across the country. And Dave has always been my contractor. And I will say this, like, I have so much respect for him. I always had respect for him. I certainly have 10 times more respect for him after watching how sometimes contractors, not the main contractor, how a lot of their guys work. And it gets back to not everything, even though it may seem like, why would you not do this? Isn't this obvious? It's not always obvious to everybody. And it really, when you do these projects, there needs to be somebody managing the project. And I was lucky enough to be able to time it where I could manage it while I was there, but it certainly was challenging because there's things that I would just think, what, that's obvious. Why would they not do that? That it's not obvious. And you really, if you have projects running like this, you really need to be there to make sure you are watching what's happening without micromanaging it. Cause that's the other thing. I don't ever want to stand over people and be like, what are you doing now? Like, but I'm so used to Dave that Dave just takes the ball and runs with it. One thing I will say, because everyone is using AI for everything. And I love AI for some things. AI is, you have to talk through something many, many times to get a drawing. So for instance, the arches in the back, I needed to submit drawings. I do not work on a CAD system. I prefer not to. I've said it before, I am much more an intuitive designer. I can go into a space and definitely see what will work and what not. But when you're dealing with a large company, I have to submit some kind of drawing or some kind of I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but I have to send in a proposal and drawings and sketches that have measurements and whatnot. So I went to AI because I needed to get the sketch for the arches for the contractor so I can get a bid. The back wall is 22 feet. Breaking down how many arches we're going to have, how wide are these arches, like I am going through AI with this, and it's like, hey, AI, I use Claude. I am building a wall. I would like to do arches that look like this. And I uploaded a photo but they are going to be on a wall. They need to be held off a wall by 2 inches, etc. The arches need to be this wide, this high. I need to still have 18 inches from the top of the wall to the top of the arch. Like all of the information you get, and it will give you these drawings and these sketches, but what it doesn't do is if you change anything, it doesn't change the measurement of everything else. And I don't even know that makes sense, but all I know is that I spent, and I'm not kidding you, because I'm don't utilize, like I said, AI that often. I spent probably 4 hours with AI going through this to get this sketch, and I thought it looked amazing. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. Look at this. I can submit this. I can send this to the contractor. And Dave came back and he was looking at it and he said, what about this? Well, if you move this, this is going to move by 1/2 inch and this is going to move by 1/2 inch and this, and he's like, and that's the one thing AI doesn't do. And I literally started crying. I lost it. I was so proud of myself. And then I realized, like, it just made me feel like you don't really know what you're doing. And it's AI. And so Dave luckily went in and did the sketch for me. And AI, though, did do a fantastic job of creating the imagery and what it would look like, set up, backlit, etc. And I think if you utilize, for me, if I utilize AI more of a inspiration, this is what I'm looking for. Can you create this with this color wall, this color, etc. And shelves on it, wood shelves, 2 inches thick. It will create the image for you, and at least you have an idea of what it will look like, versus me trying to give it measurements and trying to get out a sketch that people are actually going to build off of. Same thing as, the Levant team sent me, they wanted to do a Christmas tree in their boxes. And so they uploaded the pictures of the box, and AI created a Christmas tree out of these boxes stacked up. And I even knew, well, they're showing it much wider. It can't be this wide because it's going on a table, and then you'd have to go in and give it instructions. The table is 6 feet long. It's 40 inches wide, whatever it is. The tree needs to fit on that. And then it starts shrinking it down, and now it doesn't have the same shape it had. AI is interesting. And while I love it for inspiration, for an overall look, if you are looking to use AI to create your displays, just know that there are going to be things that it's not going to give you the correct look, but as inspiration, it's pretty amazing. And I'm sure, and I'm saying this because we all know I'm not the most tech person, I'm sure there's somebody out there, Crystal, like there's a lot of people out there that know how to utilize and use AI all the time. But honestly, for me, I personally do better with actually sketching something by hand. And what I did end up doing for them for the other portion of the wall, the L-shaped wall, was actually sketching it out and watercoloring the wall color, watercoloring the acoustic paneling, and hand drawing it. And to me, the aesthetic of that felt more like the brand. But I think between what AI had created and what I was showing them, you had a very good idea of what it looked like. But that project was such a pleasure to create. And it was such a learning experience as well, because again, I don't use AI that often, but it really was interesting to utilize it and use it for the inspiration part to see what it looks like. And I definitely will be using it. And I will not be using it for sketches for contractors to go off of, but for sure the inspiration part. But when you guys have a chance, take a look at, if you guys were in Dallas or are in Dallas, take a look at it, because it is, honestly, it's the prettiest space. it feels so good and it feels so much like their brand. So from inspiration to that, I'm really happy with how it came out. And that's the same thing for any project that I work on for anybody. It's always ask for the inspiration first, see what it looks like, and then create around that and taking into consideration budgets, etc. So that is my all over the board podcast episode for this week. We are going to be in Las Vegas. I am going to be in Las Vegas. Dave will be out for a little bit. This will be the one time that Dave does not spend the entire time with me because July shows just aren't as busy as far as showroom build outs as January are. January is usually the biggest rollout of any new product that manufacturers run through is usually in January. So July there's new introductions, just not big ta-da moments. So I will be heading out there. I'll be doing the usual suspects. Dave, you'll be building something for Fine Lines for a new vendor. I will say this, a lot of the showrooms have a lot of new manufacturers coming in, which is very exciting. I'm not going to give any away, but I will say there's a lot of new vendors coming in, which is fantastic. It is going to be it's going to be same thing. I'm trying to shorten this trip so I'm not there an entire month, but I will be there as the buyer for Lucy's first day of the show. I also am going to be doing another, it's going to be basically a retail forum for Fine Lines. It's going to be a buyer's lunch. They have not announced it yet. If you shop with Fine Lines, they should be putting out the information, but it's going to be a fantastic conversation with 3 different retailers. I will be the moderator. I am so excited for this. I'm not even going to mention who the stores are, who the people are, because I think all of you are going to be so excited, but I'm not going to announce it yet. But I will say though, keep your eye out for the announcements for Fine Line. So if you are interested in doing it, because when we did Show Me Your Stores, both in Seattle and Vegas last show, they sold out within minutes, and because they keep the head count small. I think there's 40 people that are going to be able to go, and they provide lunch. You get this great grab bag. For this, you'll have an amazing conversation to listen to of 3 incredibly strong retailers. And we're going to be talking about how to create events and what works and what doesn't, events in your store. Because right now, I think that the big thing that's happening and has been happening are in-store events. I had the retail roundtable for the Mahjong, and it is incredible how not only are you creating sales, but you're creating community. And it's just another conversation about more in depth about that with 3 different retailers. So with that, everyone have a fantastic 4th of July. And I will see you very soon. If you guys have, as always, if you have any questions, please send them my way, and I will see you all very soon.